Hey people, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And
this is season 4 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
I was buying a gift earlier this week and I realized, not that I hadn't thought about this in probably 20 years, I realized they don't really sell precious moments anymore.
They don't?
No, because where would you buy the precious moments? Aquí en Margarita's Hallmark. Next to Publix on 117th. Or whatever Publix place. Or even in like Christian bookstores, they would sell them. But they don't sell them anymore. They don't.
I'm sure you could probably go online. And
Yes, online, yes. Right. Yes, but I'm sure online you could find them.
But it's not like you could just go to a...
No, and then I looked it up, and there's like a handful of Christian bookstores. Mm-hmm. The closest one was like in Pembroke Pines.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no. Because I wanted to get a gift. I was like, no, olvídate. I'm not driving to Broward to comprar una muñeca de precious moments. Man, that's a 90s thing.
Was it just the 90s? I feel like, I don't know, it was like 80s,
right, but
90s,
I think they reached,
peak.
First of all, everybody, welcome to Pero Let Me Tell You.
Welcome to episode 146.
The only podcast in the world that is starting this week's episode talking about precious moments.
Unless there's a Precious Moments podcast out there.
Well, you know what? Actually, there probably is.
There probably is.
Because that sounds like really good. Like today we are going to talk about the Open Hearts doll that was released in May of 1993.
Right, and you'll notice the teardrop eye.
Yes.
You know, it's,
So I feel my sister-in-law has an entire...
I love how when we went to Precious Moments, it was like NPR voice.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're going to be like, yo, you know.
That Precious Moments doll is dope, yo.
Or like a Valley girl like, welcome to like Precious Moments Online.
Like, yo, that bitch was a vet, but it was for her stuffed animals.
Like, oh my God, like I totally love the Precious Moments. Like Elle Woods. Like, is it hard? My sister-in-law has an entire vitrina, because we have to say the word vitrina.
It's a vitrina.
A vitrina of Precious Moments.
My uncle's first wife did too.
Precious Moments were such a big thing. I actually have a Precious Moment. I have the graduation little boy when I graduated high school.
Oh, that's cute.
It's in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know it's there somewhere?
I don't know how sure I am in my masculinity to put a Precious Moments doll on, somewhere.
You wear pink. You're secure.
I could wear pink, but I don't know about the Precious Moments doll and all those pastel colors. But
yeah, they were all like, it's not even pastel.
But it's
it was
interesting
like off-white pastel.
How that was so popular. It was so popular at one point and then not that I thought that it would live forever, but I don't know. I just thought it wouldn't have just like
evaporate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, who makes Precious Moments?
The Precious Moments Company? I don't know.
I liked the little giraffe. I thought that was...
Oh, the giraffe was cute.
Yeah, the little giraffe. So, well, with that Precious Moments talk, everybody, welcome to episode 146. As I said, no other podcast except the Precious Moments podcast or maybe an all 90s podcast.
At some point, they would have to have at least one episode.
Oh, Precious Moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you know the thing about Precious Moments also, especially if you were in the 90s, is that it was a great gift to give your girlfriend.
It was perfect. Mira, a girlfriend, una quinceañera, a graduación, una boda, a tu abuela, a tu tía, like a baby being born.
Mira, son los 15
Actually, I think my sister has a
de
15th.
Melissa. Let's go los 15 Melissa. Hay que regalar a la niña. Mira, ay, qué lindo. Esa cosita de Precious Moments. Qué lindo, qué fino.
Actually, now you said quinces, and I did you see the group text this week? The request from our friend?
No. You know I'm really bad at the group text.
This is why I'm bringing it up on air, because she made a request that is basically making one of your lifelong dreams come true. She asked if you and I would be okay emceeing her daughter's 15s.
This is a real moment that you cut on air.
I know! That's why I'm doing it! I told her, I'm like, you realize you're making one of Darien's life dreams come true with this request,
to our
right?
listeners. For years, I've always like kind of like a persona of mine. Like, you know how Beyonce has Sasha Fierce?
Right. He has locutor de 15.
Yes. I'm like fantasized about this for like years, for decades. Okay.
So I'm assuming we can tell her yes.
Okay. Let me do a little practice.
Okay, this is him trying to get in the moment.
This is me cold.
Right, there's no warm up.
Bienvenidos, señoras y señores, al bello Exclusive Banquet Hall, aquí en Flagler y la 87. Hoy estamos aquí para algo muy especial, muy especial. Vamos a celebrar la entrada de nuestra bella niña Savannah a la sociedad cubana exiliada de Miami, hoy en sus 15 años. Now, Europa by Gato Fieri or whatever brings in. Now, la cortina se abre and she's on a swan.
Oh,
on a swan with smoke coming out. So this is how it would be like. La bella Savannah estudia en Southwest Miami Senior High. Le gusta hablar con sus amigas por teléfonos y de compras.
Nowadays le gusta mandar textos.
Listen, I'm stuck in the 90s.
Okay.
Su color favorito es el peach. Y cuando crezca, quiere ser una psicóloga. Ahora vamos a introducir la corte. Pareja número 1. Tenemos al joven.
Oh, yes. It's always that joven.
El joven Francisco Suárez y su bella acompañante, la señorita.
Jessica García.
Un fuerte aplauso a esta bella pareja. And then by like the 8th pareja, you're like, oh my God, fuck. There's like 5 more to go.
Yeah, because they've closed the bar.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, I answered for you. I basically said yes on our behalf.
Okay, because this has been like a parody.
Yeah, this is like our thing about Celia Cruz, right? Like when she died, and it happened.
Yes.
So this is another thing of like, you know,
but like I've always done this as a parody. Like if I do this for real, I have to like take it up a notch, but bring it down a notch too, because I don't want it to.
Yeah. But you know what? But in your mind, the parody has always been like just you. She asked both of us to do it, so maybe like we can temper it that way.
See, because her 15s are probably, it's a modern day 15s.
Right.
So it's probably going to be,
there's no court.
And very good taste and all that.
Right.
Whereas my fantasy 15s is tacky.
Is the epitome of the 80s 15.
She came out in a swan.
Right.
Like, what else would she come? Well, in a swing. There was a swing, a swan. Una fuente. As I say, one of the biggest 15s I went to at the Seville Hotel in Miami Beach, which I don't even know now what it is. She came out of un búcaro de flores.
Oh.
Un búcaro inmenso. That was like un búcaro de 6 pies. And the búcaro, actually, my favorite 15s, the Quince de Marilyn, that when we had in season 1.
About Marilyn's 15s.
When we had in season 1, listen to this. So this will be like, part 2 of our quinceañera episode. Yes. So this was a real 15s. She had her 15s. I'll never forget this at the German Social Club here in Miami.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember that her parents had asked them if they could tone down the Bavarian theme. And it's like, it's at the German American Social Club. Like, did you think it was going to be a Polynesian theme?
Yeah, there's only so much toning down.
But anyway, after we at the 15s, she came out. So have you ever been there to the?
Yes.
It's a huge hall, and it was packed. This was like one of those 15s that had like 500 people.
Okay,
and she came out of a flower. Like they built like an 8-foot flower with like 10 petals, and then the petals very gingerly opened up, and she was in the middle. She was
Marilyn.
Yeah, Marilyn. Right. And she came out, I'll never forget this, to the theme of The Young and the Restless.
Listen, say what you want, but Mary J sampled it.
Mary J sampled it. What I'll never forget was that, and these are the things that as a kid, like they stay with you. That we at the end of the 15s, like at the end of the choreography, she came out and she like kind of walked around the dance floor, which is enormous. It's like the size of a football field. It's enormous. And while she was just like walking and like waving, they had a pre-recorded message of her and some lady who was sitting at the table, and I was a kid and I remember this exactly. She's like, pero ¿quién se cree que es ella, Miss Universo? You know, Miss Universe, right before they give the new crown, she's, you know, the audio.
The reigning.
Yes, the reigning queen. She's like, oh, you know, whatever. I want to thank Bob Barker. Yeah. You know? At one point, they would thank Trump, you know?
That's great.
But yeah, and I remember hers in specific, my brother, my cousin, and all that, they were in rehearsal for like months.
Months?
Yes, because there was like 4 or 5 costume changes.
Costume changes?
Yeah, you know why though? Because I have to tell you something about the 15, the spectrum of the 15s. Remember, I had an older brother and cousins, and my brother was like the popular kid in school.
Right.
So my brother got invited to all the 15s.
And danced his fair share.
All of them. Right. And he danced many times with la quinceañera.
Oh, so he was a principal.
Yeah. So I'm not kidding. Like we would go to like, I don't know, 10, 15s a year. So after a while, like you built up the portfolio. It had become so popular that it like that's when there was costume changes.
Okay, it had become a production.
And choreography, right? Because when I think now, like the earlier 15s that he did, that I remember he did a 15s where he was like 13. I was like a little kid. Right. And it was just like straight out, you know, the big dress with the
everybody comes out, does un valsi,
Cuban danzones and all that, you know, all that stuff. But by the end, it was like very like there was production value.
Wow.
My favorite 15s or my favorite events, and this is something that's very specific to Miami. My personal favorite, like either 15s or parties, were the ones that were at Pyramid Banquet Hall in Coral Way at 107. Now it's called Olga's.
Oh, okay.
A Pyramid Banquet Hall, because Pyramid Banquet Hall, first of all, the bar was a pyramid. But the thing about Pyramid Banquet Hall, that it was your typical banquet hall in the night, like at that time, that was in a strip mall.
Right.
And they would pack like 500 people into like that small location.
So fire marshals were not happy.
You know, like when you would go to these parties and like when you would get up from your chair, you would hit the person behind you on the other table. Yeah. That's how Pyramid Banquet Hall was. Okay. In order for you to go to the bathroom, like 20 people had to move. You know? And then when you'd go to the bathroom while the choreography's happening, you know, and everybody's focused on the choreography, then when you would come back, you know, it's like they had to move back. So I remember one of the last times I went there, I was older because it was like a girl that had turned 15 that worked at my mom's bank, and I think I was like in high school. This was like way past the peak of 15s that we were like, there's still 15 going on. That I went there, that happened, and I went to the bathroom. The choreography was full blown, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just wait by the pyramid, by the pyramid bar, because now toda esta gente se tiene. And then, you know, when the food will come out, the rice pilaf with the vegetables, and
I love rice pilaf
and the chicken cordon bleu.
You know that is my favorite meal.
Yeah,
a rice pilaf with chicken cordon bleu. I love it.
But it's so interesting how like tastes change, because like for example, my brother and my sister-in-law got married in 1993. Like, I kind of forget sometimes that they've been married almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Because they're still young. Right. But I realized that they got married like straight out of high school, you know? Like, I remember that when they went to go look at banquet halls, we went with them. Like the parents went with them. And, you know, I was like a kid. And I'll never forget that we went to this place, and I think it's still open, called Tony's Banquet Hall in Hialeah. Okay. And the reason why they didn't have it there was because it was in Hialeah. And, you know, my family and her family were all from like Kendall.
It was far. Right.
So that's why Tony's Banquet Hall in Hialeah was like Roman palatial,
like a Colosseum
themed thing with like Roman columns and Venus de Milo. And I remember us going in there and being like, oh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen ever. Like, look at these Roman columns. And then outside, you look outside and you're in a strip mall in the middle of Hialeah with pavement.
It happens.
And now it's like, you know, people got married at like the freaking Biltmore, you know, like, you know, the Mandarin Oriental.
Yeah.
Times change.
So,
yeah, but banquet, that was like the best. So I accept the job offer, but, you know, we're going to have to.
We'll figure it out. We have until the summer. We'll figure it out. We can script something.
Okay, so let's get to it, because I wasn't planning on this little 15s chat. So we have to bring up the Dr. Seuss thing.
Okay.
So as many of our listeners probably heard, this week there was a big
hullabaloo,
to say the least, regarding Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Depending on what news source you watched, the world was ending. Dr. Seuss was being crucified.
Right.
And dragged through the mud.
Right.
And
posthumously, his corpse.
Yes. And then to other people, it was like, okay, well, they're getting rid of insensitive books. So this is what officially happened. Mm-hmm. So this week was National Reading Week.
Yeah, National something week.
Reading Week, which coincides with Dr. Seuss' birthday.
Right.
And one of the things that I always thought was really, was like, for example, Tristan is in first grade. So this is the third year he's in school, preschool, kindergarten, and first grade. And they've always like dressed up as Dr. Seuss and Cat in the Hat.
My
and all
nephew's
that
the
stuff.
same.
And and in all other schools, because I've seen for years now. They never did that. We never did that.
No.
But that's because that started in 1998. Because the National Education, no sé qué, I forgot the name of the entity, started in 1998 to bring literacy to children, so to get children in the habit of reading. Okay. And they made it coincide with Dr. Seuss's birthday. So I knew it. I thought it happened because of Dr. Seuss. I didn't know that it was this organization
that sought out the partnership,
that used the image of Dr. Seuss
to promote reading.
Right. I just thought they did it for Dr. Seuss's birthday, but then I got informed. Right. So let's put that in the back burner. Okay. So for a few years now, apparently, Dr. Seuss Enterprises had been getting feedback and had been getting criticism regarding some works of Dr. Seuss. Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Seuss has published over 50 children's books. Right. And they decided last year.
Yes, this decision was not now.
Right. Last year. Yeah. That this year, because this is a major corporation or a major
things don't happen from one to the next.
Right. There's a process and a protocol to things. They decided to stop publishing
certain books.
6 of the over 50 children books that he has. Now, let me ask you, when they had the list of those books, did you know any of those books?
There was one that I feel like I knew.
Okay, but the most you were like...
I think the one on Mulberry Street. Okay. I think that's the one I knew.
Okay. But they were not...
It's not the Cat of the Hat. It's not Green Eggs and
Ham.
Ham.
It's safe to say it's not the titles
places you will go.
Right. The titles that you were more...
Familiar with. Yes.
Right?
Right.
I had never heard of any of them. Right. I think maybe, the one in Mulberry Street, the things I know or the things that happened in Mulberry Street, they were not titles that I knew.
It's not your traditional big names.
And then I started looking at the images that they found, in like insensitive and racist. And they're very out of touch with today's time. And again, these were books that are not even his popular books. Like most people don't know these books. Right. So Dr. Seuss's enterprise decided to stop publishing these books. Nobody told them to.
There was not a major outcry. There was not a ban.
They decided last year to do it.
Right. So many companies make decisions that we never
find
out about.
So that happened. Right. Also, earlier this week, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, always gives a list of his favorite children's books. Right. Joe Biden put his list, and it did not include Dr. Seuss. Mm-hmm. ¿Pa qué fue aquello? ¿Pa qué fue aquello? Joe Biden hates Dr. Seuss. Honestly, let me tell you something about Dr. Seuss. If I would put my favorite top 10 children's books, Dr. Seuss none of his books would be on there. Because, I came from a Cuban household.
So it's a little different.
The closest, I didn't really grow up on any kids' books. Right. The only thing I grew up in was Los Zapaticos de Rosa.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what was la cucarachita Martina?
No, Los Zapaticos de Rosa. No. Ay, María Arena Fina y Pilar quiere tener sus zapaticos de rosa. I actually knew no part of it. But even as an adult, Dr. Seuss books, and I loved Seuss Landing and all that stuff in Universal. Right. But his books, I don't have a nostalgic feeling towards them because I didn't grow up with them. Right. I grew up with Jose Martin. So I probably wouldn't have included it either. Right. Joe Biden does this, the world is ending. So that coupled with it. So, what is your take on them, which is, I guess, the point of discussion? What is your take on them not publishing these books anymore? Do you think it's censorship? Do you think it's timely? Do you think it's the right thing to do? Do you think it's the wrong thing to do?
I think honestly, it's a business decision. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it's a business decision. And to your point, these are not... Again, they're not discontinuing The Grinch. They're not discontinuing Green Eggs and Ham. They're not discontinuing anything that on paper is really making them money. So I have to assume that, okay, yes, they probably got feedback that said these are insensitive, these are racist. No, I'm saying they got all this and great. But I also have to assume that on some level, before any business makes a decision to discontinue a product, they look at the numbers. If everybody and their mother had been reading The Mulberry Street or whatever, they probably would have edited it, had some Dr. Seuss lookalike artists come in and adjust it or whatever.
They probably would have done. They would have probably kept it in publication, but with like some type of disclaimer
or something, right?
Like what they did with Gone with the Wind,
right? So I'm sure that on paper they were like, "Look, this book sells like 10 copies a year. We're printing 5,000 of them. Nobody's buying it. These people don't like it. Fuck it. We're not doing it anymore."
But do you think...
And that's the cynic in me.
But do you think that, numbers aside, do you think that they have a obligation, or as the gatekeepers of Dr. Seuss's legacy, that they should do something like that if something is so out of touch?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to use an example that's not the same, but kind of similar. So go with me. Comic books. Okay. Comic books, every so often, they'll do a reboot, or they'll, change a particular team lineup, or they'll, this team now, this is their new history or what have you, right? And whenever that happens, you get longtime fans who always come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh, that's not my team. You're ruining my childhood. You're ruining this. You're doing that."
Ben Affleck.
And my response to that is always like, no, because those things, still do exist. And if you so wish to go and revisit it, you can. You can go out and buy this, collection of the stories that you grew up with and what have you. Now, in this case, it's a little different because they're discontinuing it. But I'm assuming that if these are people who have such a reaction, and 9 times out of 10, the people who are doing this didn't even know these books existed. They're doing it on the quote-unquote principle, or what they perceive to be the principle of whatever the principle is. But if you were such a fan of that book, chances are you have it in your house. If you're a Dr. Seuss completist, you probably have this book. And you know what? You can just go to your bookshelf and revisit the story. Like, it's not the end of the world. But we live in a world now where everything on both sides of the spectrum becomes a thing.
Well, because here's the thing, and this is my problem
again,
with
the cynic in me says that it comes down to a business decision.
Is a problem that I have with it from a political standpoint. So because everything is political nowadays,
right.
The narrative that right-wing media has used for this is they're canceling Dr. Seuss. They canceled, Mr. Potato Head. Our kids can't, use do these books. These damn liberals, canceling everything. Right? When that is not true. They're not... Because when you say they're canceling Dr. Seuss, what do you automatically think?
All his books are gone.
Like, that's it. It's gone.
Right.
They're going to have to bomb, bulldoze, Dr. Seuss Landing.
Which I did see a headline. I didn't bother reading the article that said, are they going to reevaluate
I read the
Seuss
statement.
Landing?
I read the statement.
And I don't
What they said
think
was that it continues to be very popular and that
there's nothing there that's offensive.
That the only thing they are considering in light of this, that they, again, Dr. Seuss Enterprises chose to do this, is there's a part
that has the bookstore
it's the books are being taken out of the bookstore, right? But there's a part that has a petting zoo that's called If I Ran the Zoo, and that's one of the books that they
they're ceasing publication,
right? So they're gonna figure out if those small little tweaks in the whole area, if they're going to keep that name or they're just going to rename it
like Dr. Can the Hat Zoo or whatever.
Yeah. Right, but they're not getting rid of Seuss Landing. Oh yeah, see, Vice News, which is the most progressive left-leaning but they're like the most progressive left-leaning news organization out there, was like, Dr. Seuss is not being canceled. In fact, there's many things of Dr. Seuss that are very redeemable, like the whole thing with the Sneetches.
Yeah, the whole Lorax thing.
I mean, the Lorax. I mean, he was an environmentalist
before it was a thing.
Right, it was a thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think that, especially in somebody like him, that he has a legacy.
Right.
We're talking about legacy.
And the good outweighs the bad.
Right. But I think that those are times that you could say, you know what? Part of this work is not, thankfully, where we are as a society anymore today. So, and these books are not representative of the brand anyway.
The bigger.
So you know
works.
what? Let's try to clean it up. It's not censorship. It's not, it's not like they're making people burn the books. You know what I mean?
Right.
What just bothers me about all this stuff is the way that it's then manipulated politically
for clickbait.
For clickbait and by certain people. The other day, they showed, the day this hit the news, Fox News led with this on every hour in every show. In every hour and every show, they led with Dr. Seuss being canceled. There's a million problems in the world, but that is what they led with every single hour. So now if you are a Fox News watcher and you see this, now you go out and you're like, oh my God, they're canceling Dr. Seuss, these damn liberals. Mr. Potato Head last week, Dr. Seuss this week, right? And that's the problem. Like, that's the really big problem. So, whatever.
I don't dismiss that it's something that was probably brought to their attention and they were considering it. But again, I go back to my statement. They looked at the numbers and these books are not selling. And quite frankly, probably if they were not quote unquote Dr. Seuss books, would probably have been out of publication a while ago.
Probably. But I just think that whether it was for money, whatever the reason was, I think that they did the right thing. I think that they did the right thing.
They're a private company.
Because
they can do whatever they want.
Look. I'll never forget like the moment that I had like the Enlightenment moment. One of my favorite songs from Disney movies growing up that I freaking loved, it was my jam, was We Are Siamese If You Please.
Oh, from Lady and the Tramp.
I freaking loved that song. I don't even care for the rest of the movie.
You just love that scene.
The scene with the meatball and the spaghetti.
This is the night.
I'm dead inside. Like, whatever. I that scene, whatever. It's cute. Whatever.
Right.
But to me, it was the Siamese cats. Right? I loved it. So much so that I remember in like the Napster years, I downloaded that song. Because I freaking loved the song. And then, by that time, I was already like in my late teens when I downloaded the song. And I remember watching it at that time and being like, this is a little racist. This is like really racist. Which obviously as a kid, it doesn't register. Right. But even now, at this time, I was like a teenager, and this was 20 years ago. No, this was 5 years ago. This was a few years ago. And even then, thinking like, this is really...
something's off.
This is really offensive, actually. Yeah. Like...
Yeah, but I mean, things change. And actually, I think that's a great segue to one of the other things that you had told me you wanted to bring up. Now that we're talking about music and songs. Mr. Marshall Mathers.
Oh, okay. Actually, that's a twofer. The thing with Eminem is TikTok.
Okay.
So I guess this is the cancel culture. This is the King Says and the cancel culture.
Cancel culture. Happy 305 Day, everyone.
So first of all, do you like my hair parted more in the middle or in the side? Okay.
Is this about that whole millennial Gen Z thing?
Let's give a whole thing of context.
Okay.
So on Fake Friday, the other day, I was watching the Today Show. Okay. And there was a whole segment on the Today Show. And not on the third or fourth hour. I'm talking about the prime hour between 7 and 9. Okay. There was a whole segment in the Today Show regarding the TikTok challenge or war that's going on between millennials and Gen Z.
Gen Z or Gen X?
The new one.
Gen Z.
Right? So we've always said that you and I were technically on the cusp of millennials. We kind of, depending on who you look at, we're millennials. For this argument, we're millennials, right? Yeah. At first I was like, this is the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, they put videos of people arguing. So Gen Z, the young kids,
Gen Z,
say that older people are the ones who part their hair to the side. That, they would not be caught dead with a side part.
Okay.
And the millennials,
as I sit here looking at you with your hair to the side.
Right. Yeah, but when my hair was long, it was parted in the middle.
Okay, fair enough.
I've done both.
Okay,
right?
Okay.
Because I think that all has to do with the way your hair is. Like,
exactly.
if you're a guy with short hair,
what are you gonna do?
Are you gonna part your hair in the middle?
Yeah, like Christopher Columbus.
Unless it's a mushroom cut, like.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, and then millennials, so our group
was
like, what the hell, you young crappy kids, it's all about partying it in the middle.
Okay.
I'm sorry, to the side.
To the side.
So there's like this back and forth on this. And at first I was like, this is so stupid. But then I was like, you know what? After the last 4 or 5 years,
fine.
If this is what we're arguing about on Twitter,
let's have it.
I'm okay with it. Let's have it. I'm totally in the fight.
Let's do it.
Like, if this is what we're arguing
about, welcome it. I welcome it with open arms.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Like,
yeah.
Yes. Like, I would actually argue for both because I've had both.
This is true. This is true.
I've had both. But you know what? I'm like, if this is what we're fighting about, let's fight about this.
Let's have it.
So, going with Eminem and cancel culture. So this is more about like the cancel culture whole argument. Okay.
Are we canceling side parts?
So earlier this week, there was a whole war on Twitter, on TikTok, regarding like younger people wanting to cancel Eminem because he was very violent.
Okay.
And the song they referenced that they wanted to
they've rallied behind getting
getting rid of him was Love the Way You Lie, I believe, which is the song with Rihanna. And there's a lyric in that song that says something about I'm going to tie her to the bedpost and set the house on fire. I was like, wait, this is the song that you want to bring Eminem down
This is the hill you're going to die on?
I'm like, have you read the lyrics to the song Kim from the Marshall Mathers LP? Because basically the whole song is about him tying up his wife, putting her in the trunk of the car, chopping her up into pieces, killing her, and then throwing her in the river. That's
literally the song.
There's even parts in the song where she's allegedly in the trunk, and you could hear her
oh, that's true. You hear the muffles. Yeah.
Yes. I never mind. But that's the song that you're going for, not this song or any of the plethora of songs from his first couple of albums.
Because God knows you have options.
This is the song that
this is the hill we're gonna die on.
Right. So you know what? Going to the bigger picture and about cancel culture. So I would be interested to know, to our listeners, we need to do this live because I would love to hear people chime in on this. What their thoughts are about Eminem, canceling Eminem, because I think back at this is one of these things that how fast a generation, or just a few years that separates a generation from another, how they handle things. We both remember he was already established, Eminem, when he got called out on having homophobic lyrics.
Yeah.
And he did a duet on the Grammys with Elton John.
Opened the Grammys.
Right. With Elton John. And that was a statement. Right. We didn't cancel Eminem. We didn't say down with him. We just simply said, hey, this is offensive because you're attacking us. You're attacking a whole segment of society. Many people who are your fans. Maybe you shouldn't say this.
Right.
Right. And he responded and made this statement with one of the biggest, LGBT,
which it's interesting because
icons.
Because and possibly one of the biggest non-statement statements.
Well, I don't think it was a non-statement. I think it was very calculated.
Sorry. What I mean by non-statement is, nowadays people get called out on their shit, and it's the whole I need to learn how to do better. I've been meeting with all of these people, and we're gonna read a book about why racism is bad. It was him just being you know what? I got you. He did a duet with Elton John. He didn't do the whole, bullshit statement and all that.
But what I think is interesting is that I feel that is the way at that time that a lot of things were handled. And, I'm not even saying whether it was better or worse or what's more effective or not. But it was interesting. Like, I really started to think about that, how, that wasn't that long ago. That was in the 2000s. You know what I mean?
Right.
How, that was an issue. He got called out on it. And
we handled it. We moved on.
We didn't cancel Eminem, right? And whereas now, not only are people canceled for saying things, they're canceled for things they said 10, 20 years ago, right? And, my whole thing with cancel culture is, and I believe in accountability. Because I think there's certain things that are always wrong. Like right now, we're having a reckoning on how Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan and all these girls were treated by the media in the early 2000s. You know what? That's bullshit. Because back then it was wrong. And everybody knew it was wrong. Because not to, put myself higher than everybody else, I would make comments to you. I'm like, tienen la vida de esta chiquita acabada. La tienen cogida con ella. Everybody knew that it was wrong. So don't come and tell me now, like, oh my gosh, we were so hard on Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton and all that stuff. No, like, you knew that it was wrong. Right. Like, you knew that it was wrong, but you enjoyed every moment of it. So don't come at me now with, like, this... The
mea culpa.
Right. It's like, you knew that was wrong.
Yeah.
Right? But I just think that if you find something on someone, you approach them, they make a statement, it's genuine. Because sometimes they're not genuine. Right. Like, what more do you want?
Right. Like
that is my problem with cancel culture. Well, you got to give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
That's like, and we talked about this with Kevin Hart, where he was going to host the Oscars, and he kept getting, and he basically came out, he's like, listen, I apologize. I'm not going to keep apologizing. You can accept it or you cannot. Right. And we're going to move on with our lives now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I just... This whole cancel culture thing, and I know we've talked about it several times on the show, it's just, I feel that it keeps evolving.
It's just so, it's annoying because what's interesting to me is that these people, like, let's take Eminem as the example, right? Like, okay, yes, what he's talking about, it could be viewed as misogynistic and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera. But then the same people who are all about cancel culture, right? These same, like, woke people, I hate that term so fucking much, are the same ones who will then turn around and be like, but we need authentic art. That shouldn't be censored. Right. And it's like, so he's writing about what he was feeling at that moment, thinking about in that moment, and now you're like, no, but that's the wrong feeling. You shouldn't feel that way because that offends me. So, and because I don't want to listen to your music, you shouldn't make that music.
Right. Well, because that's the thing about Eminem, and let's not forget how controversial Eminem was.
Absolutely.
I mean,
now Eminem is like whatever.
I remember I saw him in concert during the whole Marshall Mathers era. And
that was peak Eminem.
Yeah, it was. Did you go to that concert?
No, I've never seen him live, and I'm dying.
It was amazing. He went on a whole tirade against his mother. That everybody was like, "Fuck Debbie, fuck Debbie." And I'm like, I'm not gonna say fuck Debbie.
He did not care for Debbie.
Yeah. And
not even when she was played by Kim Basinger. That was
his blessing and his curse, right? In his music. That
it was autobiographical.
It was extremely honest. It was very violent at times.
Right.
And that is what made him who he was.
He was being real.
Now, you as a consumer have the right to not listen to that because you don't like that.
Right.
And even me, like, I remember listening to him and I liked him, and thinking like, this is like really...
It's a little much.
Like a little much, like the whole thing with his mom. It's like, I'm not going to go into this whole tirade about, saying these horrible things about your mother. I don't know Debbie. I don't know Debbie Mathers. Like, I don't feel comfortable saying that, but that's it, And I think accountability is important.
Yeah, but you also have to, like you said, if you're going to hold somebody accountable and somebody comes out and tells you that they are sorry for it, whether you believe them or not is up to you. But at some point, you kind of have to just accept that is the apology that you're going to get, whether you believe it or not. And you cannot keep every time this person shows up, like, just dragging it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, unless they continue to do the same thing over and over again. Well, you know who is authentically Latina?
And is authentically 305?
Ms. Lee Molina. She's our guest this week. And again, for those of you who are listening on Pero Friday,
Happy
Friday.
305
Happy
Day.
305 Day,
305 Day lands on a Friday.
It lands on a Friday.
If it wouldn't be COVID, no fuéramos para Club Iguana. No.
Are we time traveling?
Cafe Iguana. Well, yeah, this is like we were talking about the 90s.
That's true. No, chico, por lo menos we would go. They'd put a block party in Hialeah. They would have done a whole spiel like they've done in the past, But this year,
with my beeper,
unfortunately, wow, beepers.
¿Te acuerdas de beepería?
Claro. This year, unfortunately, because of COVID, they're still taking precautions, so everything has been virtual. But there's a lot of cool virtual happenings, and a lot of local stores are still participating. So, we talked to Jenny Lee because she is the founder of 305 Day as well as 305 Cafecito Time, about, what led her to start 305 and what we can do to not just, okay, it's March 5th, happy 305 Day, and then, forget about it. There's other things you can do all year long to, give back to our community. So, without further ado, here's our interview with Ms. 305 Day herself, Jenny Lee. All right, everybody. Now, as you know, we premiere all of our episodes on Pero Fridays. And this Pero Friday, as we've said a couple times already, is probably our favorite Pero Friday this year because it lands on March 5th, also known in Miami as 305 Day. And with us, we have the creator of 305 Day, Jenny Lee. So thank you so much for joining us, Jenny.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. And what a special episode. But let me tell you, because it's 305 Day. It doesn't get more 305 than hanging out with you guys. So I'm glad this episode's coming out on 305 Day. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing, by the way. Give it up to these 305 heroes. I can't believe how many episodes you have already done. I just want to know why it took 165 episodes to finally invite me on the show, but...
Well, in all fairness, it was 146. I
can't believe how many episodes you guys have done. Seriously, though, it's amazing.
You know what, though? It's very... Actually, this is something we can talk about because you're in the epicenter of this. It's very organic because when we started the podcast... we're in season 4, but, we started it 3 years ago. When we started the podcast, we didn't know anyone, like no one. And we weren't really connected to the influencer scene in Miami, as much as we don't like using that word. We didn't know anyone. And we came out with the podcast, and it wasn't until maybe, 20, 30 episodes in that we're like, maybe we should have some guests. And then that's how it started snowballing.
I love it. You guys have done such a great job capturing so many Miami people, and it's just good to listen. And then, you don't get to hear all of those stories in passing with all of these people you interact with. There's so many awesome people in Miami, and you guys do a great job highlighting them. So
thank you. Thank you. So it started snowballing, and we started meeting a lot of people. That led to other people, and and here we are. And actually, it was meant to be because we get to interview you for 305 Day on 305 Day.
It was meant to be. Totally serendipitous. I love it.
305 Day was on Wednesday, or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, the first 305 Day, fun fact, was on a Wednesday, and I thought to myself, no one is going to show up to Versailles for free cafecito at 305 on a Wednesday because it was a Wednesday. But lo and behold, people wanted free cafecito and pastelitos, so that the first 305 Day was actually on a Wednesday.
So let's start with that. How and when did 305 Day start? How did it go from just being an idea that you were like, oh, this would be kind of cool, to how it started, actually you put the first one together, to what it is today?
Oh, it's such a fun story. I can't believe it's been 8 years already, but like most ideas, they just come to you, right? And then you just kind of go with it. And that's kind of what happened here in a nutshell. So 305 Cafecito started as an idea. It happened to be 305, and I was having cafecito at David's Cafe on Lincoln Road, RIP David's Cafe. And it happened to be 305, and I thought, wow, how fun to make 305 the time, Miami's official coffee break time. And so that's what really started it all. Mm-hmm. And from there, a year later, after really going hard on that campaign on social media and, just making it fun and other people engaging in it, we decided to do an event on March 5th at Versailles. And we said, okay, every year we're going to start doing this. And so it might have been maybe February 20-something when I looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, wait, next week is 305. And that's kind of like how it hit me, was literally looking at the calendar, and it was kind of like Queen's Gambit, like the numbers just like call at you, and like what's more 305 than 305, right? So here we are, 8 years later, and it really was just that Ventanita event. People came on a Wednesday, got their free cafecito. Versailles was super gracious and allowed us to host people there. We gave away like fun 305 cafecito shirts at the time. And we had the event there the first year, and then the following year we decided to make it a little bit bigger, and we had it at Ball and Chain for a couple years. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it evolved into something even larger, which was the block party. And so every year we've had this large event now for a good 5 years now that we've had the block party. And we try to feature local vendors. Last year was actually the first year that we wanted to have a little bit more of an impact. And we started hosting the 305-day volunteer pledge drive, where we wanted people, much like Miami Day, and people, much like Give Miami Day, where people are donating their funds on Give Miami Day. We want to really start telling people that 305 Day is not just about having fun and dancing to DJ Laz and having some drinks. Although that's all fun and that's part of our culture. But I really want people to look at 305 Day as a day when, hey, I'm going to sign up for some volunteer projects. Like, how can I give back? And if, we really look at our greatest resource is time, and we all have time, but we don't always allocate it to civic engagement, right? So how do we change the conversation with 305 Day and become a platform for that too? So that's really at the heart of 305 Day. Yes, it's a lot of fun, but this year and last year we're asking people for the first time to also take that day to go to volunteermiami.org and look up ways you can volunteer and give back, because philanthropy is not just donating dollars. You can also be philanthropic with your time. So that's really what we want to share too. But at the end of the day, 305 Day is just a big celebration of everything that makes us, and fun and unique, and 305.
and the whole civic engagement thing you're talking about is very important, because there's just so many causes. I mean, there's causes everywhere, but here in Miami, there's just so many causes that people need their time. And we say that here on the show a lot, that it's like when you get out there and you do something, you're going to feel so good about yourself, and you're going to be having helped so many people in your community. I mean, it goes a long way. So it's great that you've incorporated that into the whole fun and the fun aspect of it. So
absolutely.
So we went obviously we went to the last couple of 305 days before the world shut down. And when you say block party, this is not like just a little block party. Like, it's a huge undertaking with like a central stage and a bunch of vendors. Because block party makes it sound like the people around the block have like a DJ out in the front yard, and like
it's not a cul-de-sac situation.
I
like that. So how did it get to this? Like, are you still organize this in whole like mammoth of an event like that we see now?
Well, it was like the combination of my worlds colliding. I'm also the co-founder of the Leo Arts District in Hialeah, which is where we've been hosting the block party for a few years now. So in 2015, I had partnered with Councilman Paul Hernandez of Hialeah, who we love now because he's Democrat. No, just kidding. Can I say that on the show? I don't know how PC I can be here.
Jenny, we were still recording the show when I was a field organizer. So you could imagine how that went.
No, but Paul's amazing. He really is a community champion, and he zones for this area to be live work in Hialeah. And I was at the same time doing projects with muralists and art, and not only in Miami, but in other cities. And I was like, how can we bring this to Miami and specifically Hialeah? So everything just combined. And I was doing the projects there, bringing muralists there, and doing free cultural programming in Hialeah. So it just made sense to do the block party in Hialeah. It was already a project that I was really passionate about, and it we don't have a lot of opportunity to do fun things in Hialeah necessarily. You're always going everywhere else. those who are from there can relate. You go to Flanagan's for fun, and that's about it. Now we have Unbranded that just opened, right. La Cocina, Kush Winwood, and those are all in the Lea Arts District.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see like this, and it's not, a lot of people are like, oh, well, aren't you afraid of, I'm going off on a tangent now, but, aren't you afraid of gentrifying the area? And I'm like, well, there's a fine line, and yeah, you're always afraid of creating that monster, so to speak. But, Stevens Deli had been there since 1954, and if Kush wouldn't have come in, right. that history would have gone. Where Unbranded is, that huge warehouse, 30,000 square foot warehouse, sat empty for 7 years. So it's not like we're taking over like places or other people's businesses or whatnot. This is really reinvigorating a whole area of Hialeah that was just really just dilapidated. What's that word? Dilapidated. There you go. Yes, yeah.
You mentioned
yes. So that's how 305D evolved and became the block party there.
Yeah. The Stevens Deli, it's funny, it's interesting that you mentioned them because I've worked in Hialeah for the last 10, 11 years, so I've come to know the area very well. And I remember the first time I went to Stevens Deli, I was like, wait, am I in Hialeah? Or am I like, I don't know, in New York? Because it is the last thing you would imagine, going with the stereotype of Hialeah, that you would think that a traditional old Jewish deli that had been open, 50, 60 years, was in the heart of the warehouse district of Hialeah. And there it is, and now it's such a, it's always been a landmark, but now it's so like hip and it's such a vibrant area. So, you're part to thanks for that. So thank you, because
thanks to people like you who appreciate the history. I think if it wasn't for Matt, who appreciate the history like you, the people that have been really supporting that business for years, like it's always packed during lunch. It's so nice to see. So I think it was just like a shared energy of all of these people who really wanted to see that happen and come to life. And it's just been awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, shifting a little bit, like it's, we're on 305 Day, right? So obviously, like Darien said, last year's 305 Day was the closing ceremonies for 2020 as we knew it in Hialeah.
Oh my God, I need to use that as a caption. It definitely was the closing ceremony. Let me tell you, it was March 7th we had our block party.
I know. It's crazy. It's like literally the next weekend it was just like, well, we're all hermits now.
That was a weekend that we were really busy, that we had to split between 305 Day and Carnival on the Mile.
Yeah.
Yes, because it was that same weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the last weekend the world was open.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was the closing. 305 Day was the closing ceremony of 2020. But it's great because looking even to this year, I know a lot of events are facing challenges, right? Like we don't want to stop existing. Like for instance, Burger Beast, last end of last year, he still had a Croqueta Palooza. It had a different form. It was a drive-through situation. So we're still having 305 Day because damn it, we're 305 strong. But
1,000%.
And then some. We're stronger than any cafecito, damn it. And 305 cafecitos also your thing. So just put it out there. You're also you run that. How is 305 Day evolving this year? To account for that, because unfortunately, we can't really have the block party. I think we could have done it though. I think we could have done it if you had made, the dress code like hazmat couture. I think we could have done it, but we went another route.
We could have somewhat, but yeah, we wouldn't have gotten the permit for the street closure or the insurance or the sponsors. So there's that.
Siempre it comes down to it seguro.
We could, but we're doing the responsible thing this year. We're really excited that so many community partners have signed on to participate. And we have over 60 different small businesses that are doing something for 305 Day, whether it's like a special offer or a special cocktail. Kush Hialeah is going to be doing a fun event with Voli Vodka, with the Voli 305 Vodka. They're going to be doing free shots at 305. DJ Lads is going to be at Casa Tiki. So there's fun ways to have to enjoy 305 Day if you want to go and grab yourself a drink. But if you want to stay home, there's even Glow Fitness Studio is doing a twerking class. You can enjoy some 90s bass and twerk at home.
Is that also going to be DJ Laz, or because twerk?
I'm sure there'll be some DJ Laz in there, but no, there's definitely a lot of fun ways to celebrate, and we have a huge community guide on the 305 Day website. You can go and browse through there. You can either celebrate at home with like the twerking class I mentioned. You can go and grab yourself a drink. Martha Miami's going to have 20% off all her merch, so you can get 305 Day swag. But yeah, it's really about just celebrating the 305, supporting these small businesses. We've always had the vendors. We've always done the block party, but a big part of the block party has always been our fun, super curated Miami 305 vendors. So we're still going to have that virtually, and you could still shop from them online. And we're going to be doing a lot of giveaways today's 305 Day if you're listening to this. So we've been doing giveaways all week, but we're going to continue the giveaways all throughout March. So we're going to keep it going.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were participating in a giveaway with a bunch of our local guys, with being.
I saw that. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm glad that you mentioned the whole thing of the vendors being curated, because I know when the first time we went to 305 Day, at the block party, that's something that we really were, taken aback by, how there were so many vendors that were very, very Miami. Like, there was no generic middle of the road vendor selling back massagers or anything like that. So tell us a little bit, do these vendors come to you, or do you reach out and see what fits, the description for 305 Day?
So what you'll notice, throughout my career, is all the layers of everything kind of intertwine, and that's how we get to where we get to. So I used to also do the Miami Flea, which was awesome.
Oh, okay.
I did that for 2 years, and that was an amazing opportunity because I was able to connect with so many awesome vendors. And then I was kind of in this vendor scene, and there's so many cool makers that are doing hand-printed shirts and really cool earrings and things that are all handmade. So
lots of soap making in South Florida, I've noticed.
Yeah, and so that really was what led to, okay, let's make sure that we have vendors at 305 Day. And so a lot of the vendors came to us too, but that was great, and that's a big part of 305 Day is having those cool vendors. And you can still shop from those vendors even if you don't go to 305 Day. You can, to the block party this year, you can still shop them online.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the website. Is it just 305day.com? They can go to the
It's 305day.miami. So if you go to 305day.miami, our community guide is there. And you can also check out the past galleries and past events, but you can just browse on there and see all of the giveaways and all of the different offers from the local small businesses that are participating.
What I will say, and I hope that one of the things that we accomplished with this interview is that people that maybe were not familiar with 305 Day or hadn't gone, check it out, because I will say that having been to a lot of the different street festivals here, from the world-renowned Calle Ocho to Miracle on the Carnival on the Mile, 305 Day, to say that it's so Miami is an understatement. I feel that, from the vendors to the music to the crowds, it's so genuine and it's so organic. You could tell that it was put together by somebody like you, not just these corporate sponsors.
It's more Miami than Lucy Lopez drinking a cafecito at her abuela's house. That's what he's trying to say.
Whoa.
But thank you so much. Yeah, and I really appreciate that. It really is something that we put together with a lot of heart, and we always really try to also make it very family friendly. So when we say it's so Miami, it really is so Miami, but in a really, I think, wholesome way until it gets dark.
Actually, we have never been there in when it's dark. We've only
we haven't done 305 Day after dark. No.
That could be another 305 Day after dark.
That's a whole other conversation. No, but it really is a family-friendly event. And then, of course, the later it gets, the crowd kind of starts to shift. we always close it out with like a really good act. So last year we had DJ Laz. And yeah, that was the last time everybody was all up on each other with no masks.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It was just a year ago, and such a different
yeah. You know, for a long time, we, you know, back in June, July, when we would normally be going after like, you know, sponsors to help put this together, you know, we really didn't know what was going to happen. So that's kind of like why we were in this position too. And you know, a block party right now wouldn't necessarily be the safest. So this is the next best thing, is to just go as virtually as we can. But hopefully next year we can have a huge block party and be dancing.
You keep it alive, you know, maybe in just a different form, but you keep it alive. And when the time is right, it comes back, you know, how it's supposed to be.
1,000%. No matter what, we're still celebrating the 305 because it's 305. So that doesn't change.
So I always like to ask, you know, people that we bring on the show that are very linked to Miami and are, you know, again, Miami influencers, although we're not crazy about that term.
I like the word content creator. I just feel like that has more impact and is more accurate.
It's more legit, yeah.
I have an aversion to the word influencer. I feel like it's somewhat pretentious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't.
We kind of said here a couple of episodes ago, because we were talking about that a lot of times influencers, that's why what you said, content creator, it's really the antithesis of that. That influencer are people that really don't have a commodity, like something to sell or like promote or like nothing. It's just like, it's me.
Like, I feel like everyone's an influencer because everyone has an audience, like no matter what, like at some level you're influencing, right? But yeah, I understand. I have an aversion to the word too.
Well, as a Miami content creator, I always like to ask this question. How would you describe Miami in one sentence, or maybe two sentences, because, you know, we're Cuban, to somebody, you know, from like Nebraska, you know, or, you know, middle of the country? How would you describe Miami and the scene here?
From my perspective, I feel like Miami's this warm blanket.
A warm blanket?
I feel like it welcomes my grandparents and my family. It feels like home. It's paradise. I love Miami. I'm saying this as I'm looking at the skyline. I love Miami. So yeah, it feels like a warm blanket. You know, it's a beautiful place, and the people are beautiful and warm too, for the most part.
For the most part, you know, no, because like for example, a couple of weeks back, last week we had the Beyond South Beach.
I just heard that episode. I love them.
Yeah, and you know that's their whole shtick is that, you know, there's more to Miami than South Beach. We love South Beach. South Beach is beautiful. It's you know, world.
100%. No, but I yes, that goes without saying. We love South Beach, but yeah, there's so much more than that.
So much more, and then things like this, like 305, they really bring in the culture of what really is Miami, because. Yeah. I don't know. I think South Beach is sort of an artificial culture in a way, because it's more for tourists, and
it's like
saying,
yeah, but it's also like it would be like saying, you know, Times Square. That's really New York,
right?
You know? Exactly. Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, I you know, Miami's a beautiful place. I know that there's a lot of things about Miami that we recognize that needs to change. But I'm very grateful. I feel like we live in a world-class city that is beautiful, that has culture, that has diversity, and everyone wants to come here. We live where you vacation.
Mm-hmm. I that on Instagram all the time, and some people give me shit, and I'm like, yeah, like
we kind of do. I live on 27th and Coral Way. That's not necessarily where you want a vacation, but it's close to the Grove.
Hey, you know, listen, it's close enough to me. It's close enough to the Gables, the Grove, like, you know.
No, but we do live in paradise. You know, we have to we can't take that for granted, and I feel like a lot of us do. But we do. We live in a beautiful city.
We do. I lived in downtown for many years, and you know, I was very fortunate that I lived in an apartment that had like like bay views and city views, and I would look at it and I'm like, wow, like this is such a special place. It's so, not only is it beautiful, but it's look at this. It's tropical. It's ocean. It's blue. Like, you know, and a lot of times people, I think, take it for granted and just see like the bad things, like, oh my God, traffic. Oh my God, construction. Oh my God, which those are issues, but every place has its issue. I mean, no place is perfect. So
1,000%. 1,000%. And, you know, I'm grateful to live here because I often think about when my parents made the bold decision to come here. My story could have been so different. I could have not been having this conversation with you and been born and raised in Cuba, where the access to communications isn't as free like we are having now. So I think about that too, and I think about the opportunity that Miami is for me. And it was for my grandparents. And I think that that's kind of like where my like love for this city comes from a lot. Yeah. Is like not taking that for granted.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So, you know, as we wrap up, you know, obviously today's 305 Day. Guys, go to the site, 305day.miami. But also more importantly, you know, to kind of bring it back is, you know, ultimately, and we're big proponents of this, you know, get out there, guys, you know, support the local businesses. You know, not just on 305 Day, but every day, because
every day is 305 Day.
Every day is 305 Day. You know, that's who makes us us. And also, you know, to Jenny's point earlier, there's so many, you know, ways to give of your time and give back to your community that you are celebrating today. You know, and that's something that we should think about long term. And, you know, and again, there's ways to do it, I'm sure, on the website as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for highlighting 305 Day. I hope whoever's listening to this, whether it's 305 Day when you're listening to this or later, you still go to the website, check out the social media. There's a lot of small businesses that we highlight, and hopefully you find your new favorite t-shirt through us. That's always fun. When people are like, I bought this at 305 Day, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Happy 305 Day. You guys are amazing.
No, thank you. Really.
And thank you for creating it. Really, really do. Thank you.
A milli. I freaking love that song. And we're back.
Yes, we're back, everybody. So again, happy 305 Day. And again, if it's Friday, check our Instagram. We're part of a big old giveaway of a bunch of 305, you know, goodies.
Yeah, I looked at the goodie bag. I'm like, I want that goodie bag,
right? In partnership with, you know, with just a whole shit ton of people. So just check it out. And also go to Ping Pong Pong's page. Will be the one who'll be announcing the winner.
It's one of the greatest words of all time.
It really is.
Yeah, no, you know, look, what Jenny's doing with 305 Day and kind of, you know, what we talked about with Phil and Alex beyond South Beach last week. You know, those are the type of images of Miami that we need because, you know, these are images that are authentic, that are real, that's what Miami really is about. You know, we love the beach.
It's not Ocean Drive.
We love the beach. I freaking love the beach. I love the ocean. It's one of the reasons why I love living in Miami, right. But that's such a small part of what the Miami experience is. And, you know, like Jenny with 305 Day is really bringing at the forefront. Yep. And to those of you, you know, who have not attended the block party, as she talked about in the Leah district, hopefully next year
or later this year, maybe they'll do one. Who knows?
They'll do one. A 305 Day in November.
Why not?
That'll be good, porque hay frío.
Exactly.
And then we can go to la feria.
Exactly. It's perfect. We start in one, we end in the other.
Because nothing says 305 more than la feria. You know,
as we said last episode.
That's it's a great block party. It really is. We've gone a few times, and it's very authentically Miami.
Does not disappoint.
So are you thirsty?
I am. It's time for a last soda.
So dime.
You ready, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
So my last soda goes to ABC, the network.
Okay, not the alphabet.
Well, I mean, we owe so much to the alphabet.
It's just you felt the need to differentiate.
Language, the letter people.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So
that great song.
Yeah. Anyway, Alphabet Street by Prince.
Alphabet Soup?
Anyway, you're going to make me forget my last soda. ABC, the network.
Yes.
this week, I believe on Tuesday, they aired a 5-part series of Soul of a Nation called Soul of a Nation.
I haven't seen it yet.
And it is a very... When I mean in-depth, it's as in-depth as it could be for a 1-hour show in 5 parts, because if you're going to talk about, race relations in this country, having to do, going back from slavery to Jim Crow, it's going to take
That should have its own streaming platform. That's how much content it's going to take.
Oh my gosh. That'd be a great idea. like a great idea. Wow. That would be a great idea. Yep. I love that. But I give them credit for doing something that, listen, this is not something that I imagine they were like, oh, we're really going to bring in those big ratings during sweeps. Right. This is, I feel, is the type of programming that is thought-provoking, informative, educative for some people, that we really need, because, that show, it really talked about the nuances of the Black experience. And those are things that, maybe a lot of people don't know about.
Well,
right?
Again, if you're not Black, they
don't know. No, but
you didn't live it.
But, sometimes people, whether it's because you don't know someone, or it's not the, where you live, or you have, a lot of times, if something we've learned with age is how oblivious so many people are to certain realities. Right? Whether it be, the Black experience, even the Latin experience, the gay experience,
homelessness.
Pick your issue, right? How oblivious people are because they live in their bubble and in their echo chamber. We can have a conversation as to whether they do that willfully or not, but that's for another day. Right. But again, kudos to ABC for airing this show. I saw the first episode this week, and it was fantastic. It was, it was the type of show that we need, and it was very engaging, right? Because it wasn't preachy. I feel a lot of people get turned off, even if it's a good cause, when something is preachy. It was very informative, and it's good programming. I feel it's the type of programming that is responsible programming. And again, they're a huge network. They didn't really have to do that.
Yeah, they didn't have to.
They could have had a report on that on the news and put it away,
say 2020 and call it a day.
Right. And that's it. But, my last soda goes to them for, really going out there and doing this, because they really didn't have to. So, awesome. Kudos to them.
So my last soda is going to go to somebody who it's going to seem like a at first, but go with me.
Is it Kimmy? Is it Kevin?
It's no one with a K. Okay. My last soda is actually going to Freddie Prinze Jr.
Wow. That is a name and face that I have not thought about in decades.
So here's why. So last week,
this is the 90s episode.
You see? Last week, Peacock debuted all 10 episodes available for viewing for free of the new Punky Brewster.
Oh, I need to watch that.
It's super cute. I saw all 10 episodes.
It's in the same apartment, right?
Yeah. She inherited it from Henry.
Do they talk about Henry?
Yeah, the first episode. And there's a picture of him on the wall. So,
Henry Watermont.
Watermont, yeah. So, so it's Punky. She's grown up. She's still friends with Cherry. And then her ex-husband is played by Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh.
He plays her ex-husband. Now, what I loved about it is that they made his character, when they were creating his character, they went to him and they asked him, they're like, look, we're making this character Latino. His last name is Luna. Should he be Mexican or Puerto Rican? And Freddie Prinze Jr. said, well, I'm Puerto Rican, so it should be Puerto Rican. And so people forget that Freddie Prinze Jr., his father, Freddie Prinze, the comedian, was Puerto Rican.
Freddie Prinze was in what?
Chico and the Man. But he played a Mexican. He was a Puerto Rican playing a Mexican. And so Freddie Prinze was like, no, my dad almost got crucified for playing a Mexican when he was a Puerto Rican, so I'm going to play a Puerto Rican. And in the show, it's funny, there's an episode where he walks in on the new Punky, the new girl who's like the Punky Brewster character. And
Which is her daughter?
No, it's a foster child. And she's watching a novela. And when he walks in, he's like, is that Maribel y las Mujeres? And he's like, his Spanish is really good. But, it's not the first time, because when he had his short-lived sitcom in I think it was like the late 90s, early 2000s, he in that show, it was him and all the women in his life, and all the women in his life, it was his tias, his primas, everybody was Latina. So, you know, it just goes to show that Latinos are everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Even where you least expect it. And when you think of Freddie Prinze Jr., the first thing you don't necessarily think of him as Latino, but you talk to him and
I really don't.
And he is very proud of his Latin culture. You know, he's done cookbooks.
Wait, Buffy's married to un Latino.
Yep, Buffy's married to a Latino.
I had never thought about it that way.
Yeah. And so I thought that was great.
And this is on Peacock streaming for free.
Peacock streaming for free. All 10
I need
episodes.
to watch this.
It's really cute.
Has it gotten good reviews and all that?
It's gotten meh reviews, but the thing is,
Not that Punky Brewster was
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what people were expecting. Like, it gave me the warm fuzzies. Like, I watched it all in one day. It's only 5 hours.
Is Cleo in it? Margot
is in an episode.
And is it really her?
Yeah, she's in one episode. Yeah.
Do you remember the episode with the doll?
The doll.
Yeah, when Margot's parents lose all their money, but she got to keep her really fancy doll.
Oh no! I always remember the episode where I think it was like a Halloween episode or something where they go camping and there's like a haunted cave.
No, I don't know that one. Yeah. I think about that one. I think about the one where Mark Paul Gosselaar was in it.
Yep.
That she's like, take a walker, and then she breaks the egg on him. Yep. And then I think of the one when they were trying to get boobs. That they're doing that massage thing.
Well, yeah, she's like, guess what, Henry? I'm getting boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had the best treehouse ever.
They still have the treehouse.
They still have the treehouse? I remember I wanted that treehouse.
Of course. I still want that treehouse.
Yeah, man, life was good. I used to watch Punky Brewster, then Double Dare.
Yeah. There's even a line about, I don't know if you remember the episode where Cherry gets locked in the refrigerator.
Uh-huh.
You remember that episode?
Yes.
So there's a line like where Cherry is with like her girlfriend or whatever, and she's like, "I love you." Her girlfriend is saying to Cherry, she's like, "I love you, even though you have this irrational fear of refrigerators." And
nice.
And they
both, a nice little Easter egg.
And they both kind of went like, "There's a story there."
You know what's really interesting about Punky Brewster being redone is that I feel that Punky Brewster, even though it was on network television, it was one of these like...
Well, it did two years on NBC and 2 years in first run syndication.
Okay, so there you go. It proves what I was going to say. It was these shows that like, it was... You thought it was really popular because you were a kid and it was to your demographic.
It was popular amongst your friends.
But now as an adult, I realized that show wasn't like a top 20 show. Or
right.
Like it wasn't an Emmy nominated show or anything like that. But in your world as a kid, it was a very popular show. Yeah. So, but Saved by the Bell costs, but
Punky Brewster's free. No. Punky Brewster's free. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, it's really cute. And if anybody out there knows how to get in touch with Freddie Prinze Jr., we'd love to have him on the show.
Mira by so Buffy's married to
un Latino.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, and again, like people. Oh, to your point of like, what's a Latino? What does it look like? You know, it's one of the things that we try to strive for on this show, and it's like you don't think of him as such, but he's very proud of his heritage.
Does he do in the show that Freddie Prinze Jr. like look? That you remember that pouty look he would give?
No, because it's a sitcom, so there's not much call for pouty.
You know, I thought one of his finest moments was on Friends.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah, which is funny. I really was never a fan of him per se. No hate. I just, his movies were very like centered to like teenage girls at the time, and whatever. I was like angry watching The Matrix. He when he came out on Friends in that last season, that he was the nanny,
the nanny,
that was hilarious
with the recorder.
Yeah, hilarious. So
my favorite movie is actually one that people don't even remember exists.
What?
It's with him and Monica Potter, Head Over Heels.
I'm sure if I look at the cover, I'll know.
She is an art restoration person that she lives with 4 models, and he's like a FBI agent or something.
Oh, that's believable.
And has like a huge dog or something like that. I don't know. It's just, I love that movie. It's just a stupid ass movie, but I love it.
Hold on, I need to look at the cover of this. No, okay, I do know. The
also,
cover.
I love Monica Potter.
What's Maria Bello doing nowadays?
She'd
be something great to get on the show.
Oh, I don't know, but is she Maria Bello or Maria Bello? I think she's Italian. I mean, if she wants to come on the show, I'm not going to tell her not to because I love me some Maria Bello.
Man, did I love Coyote Ugly.
Didn't we all?
That movie sucks, but it's so good.
It's a fun movie.
It's so good. I freaking don't even like Leanne Rimes, and I freaking have the soundtrack, and I jam till this day to Can't Fight the Moonlight.
As we all should.
On that note,
we're not going to fight the moonlight anymore.
Because nothing says Miami and 305 Day more than
Coyote Ugly.
Coyote Ugly and Leanna Rimes, right? On that note, happy 305 Day, everybody. Miami rules. Yes. Miami rocks. No matter what,
what you may hear otherwise.
People,
whatever
would say. Thank you again for joining us. That was episode 146. Remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. We hope you listen, laughed, and learn. And thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy Friday.
Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darien Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. All right.
Okay, so if you've made it this far, it's because you love hearing about us. So today we have a special guest that we haven't had in a little bit.
Been missing him.
So live from first grade, it's Tristan.
Hey!
Say hi, Tristan.
Hi, everybody.
Tristan, what do we tell you about talking into the microphone?
Yeah, you got to step up to the mic, sir.
Hi, everybody.
It's the new guy.
Up to? It's been a while.
Don't call me new because I've been in like 100 episodes.
Wow.
He has to. He's been in 100 episodes.
He's been in a lot. Yeah, he has been.
So before we started recording, you were telling us that it's tough being a kid.
Yes.
Okay, tell us why it's tough being a kid.
Well, I have a lot of hard moments and stuff like blah, 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 blah. And yeah.
Tell us a little bit about those hard moments.
Not very telling. You gotta tell us.
A little bit of those hard moments.
Yeah.
What are some of those hard moments?
You.
Me?
Him?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Is it because you've been at home for the last year with COVID and your dad's like really strict with your schoolwork?
Yup.
Yeah, is that what it is?
That's part, kind of.
Yeah. Darien, you gotta ease up on that schoolwork, man.
Well, my mom's the one who does it, but I have problems with them. It's just a little like.
You have problems with your parents?
Yeah, most times.
Is it because of them or because of you?
It's because of us?
Yeah.
Because of your parents?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So what is it that you like to do that your parents get mad at you?
Uh-oh.
What are you talking about?
What is it that you do that makes your parents mad?
Do I seriously have to say that?
No,
Well,
that's you can take the fifth.
Say, I plead the fifth.
What's the fifth? What are you talking about?
Just say, I plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth.
But we're going to ask you 3 questions, and you can plead the fifth to only one of them.
Oh. Okay. Oh, so do you have questions? Is that what this is?
Okay. So who's your crush at school?
What? You have a crush? Is it Jennifer Page?
What? No.
Is it Jennifer Lopez?
No. Adriana Cano.
Oh.
First and last name.
Oh, you are on notice, girl.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I know her. She's a nice girl.
Oh, that's nice.
I know her. I know they've been together since preschool.
Yup.
Wow, so you've known her for
Well, but she was not with me in kindergarten.
Right, and her birthday, I think, is the day before or the day after yours.
I was born December 25, 2013. She was born December 28, 2013.
Oh,
so close enough.
So you're an older man.
Oh, look at you,
Yup.
3 days older.
Yep. So what show are you really into right now?
I'm not into my
Oh no! You watched this week. You watched it like 3 times. The Tom and Jerry movie.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, and tell people why you like the Tom and Jerry movie.
Well, it's of Tom and Jerry, and Tom and Jerry's the most popular cartoon in this world. Anyways.
As it should be. Tom and Jerry kicks massive butt.
When did Tom and Jerry first come out?
1940.
1940.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. I mean, I knew they were old, but dang, that's old.
You know, the other day my parents were here, and they almost argued with me that Tom and Jerry was from Disney, and I'm like, no. And they're like, yes, it is. It used to be in Disney, and I'm like, No, it's not.
Tom and Jerry was never Disney.
It was an MGM production that then when MGM got bought out by Warner Brothers, it also became now part of the Hanna-Barbera family.
I was like, I know it as Hanna-Barbera. And then I know that in the 80s they had like that other thing that their cartoons look different.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
What was that?
Hold on.
That was the Chuck Jones.
Hold on. Tom and Jerry was made in 1940, but Warner Brothers was made in the 1910s or the 1920s, I think.
Yep. But eventually what happened was Tom and Jerry first came out as part of MGM.
What's MGM?
It was a movie studio.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer.
That used to create the cartoons that would air before movies at the movie theater as shorts. And then eventually, I don't know when exactly, but Hanna-Barbera, which is owned by Warner Brothers, bought Tom and Jerry. So now it's part of the Hanna-Barbera family.
And tell the microphone there because I don't know. So tell us, who came out first, Felix the Cat or Tom and Jerry?
Of course, Felix the Cat.
Oh,
Felix
right. I forget about Felix the Cat.
Felix the Cat was 1919.
Wow, really? That dang.
Who's older, Felix the Cat or Betty Boop?
Felix.
When did Betty Boop come out?
In the 30s. In the 30s.
Yeah, that's why, because Betty Boop is like a flapper. So that makes sense.
Oh, I never thought of her as a flapper.
Yeah, that's why she always has a little garter belt and a little dress.
All I know is that Betty Boop was popular in Cuba.
Well. The first cartoon was Felix the Cat, 1919.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Wait, Felix the Cat is older than Steamboat Willie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Steamboat Willie was the first feature length.
Oh, okay. You know what?
Hold on.
Or was that Snow White?
Actually, you know what our listeners would really like to hear?
Hold on. Felix the Cat first came out in Feline Follies 1919 short. Mickey Mouse first came out in 1928 Plain Crazy. And the next produced...
That's right. Steamboat Willie was the first one that had sound.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Wait,
no,
tell our
Plain
listeners.
Crazy had sound.
Okay, tell our listeners, because a lot of people don't know this, the difference between, like, the whole story of Oswald.
Oh, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
The rabbit, and what happened with Oswald that we eventually got Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
No, he did not.
Okay, explain it to people. People don't know. Tell people what it is.
Well, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit aired 1927 in Poor Papa, and Walt Disney lost Oswald in 1928. So he.
What do you mean he lost him?
Yeah, he lost him. Okay. And then another thing owned him. I don't know.
Wasn't it Universal?
Maybe.
No, it was not Universal.
Okay, so.
Well.
RKO.
When Oswald the Lucky Rabbit first aired, it was actually Universal Pictures.
Oh, it was a Universal Pictures creation.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. I did not know.
So Disney loses Oswald the Lucky Rabbit to Universal. So then what happened?
No, when he first aired in Poor Papa, he was still Universal.
Okay. Also, and this will be the last thing we talk about because our listeners really want to know. Tell us a little bit about the first time that Donald Duck ever came out.
The Wise Little Hen, 1934.
The Wise Little Hen? What does the Wise Little Hen say that you like?
Please don't make me say it in front of that thing.
Come on, tell us.
No.
You're amongst friends.
Will you help me grab a con?
Have you seen it?
I have.
It's really funny. They're like, we have a stomach ache. And then at the end, she gives him castor oil. The little hen, what's her name? Little hen?
The Wise Little Hen.
The Wise Little Hen?
Yeah.
She's
wasn't not playing around.
No, she wasn't playing around.
She's not playing around. Either you help or you don't get any food.
And I have to tell you that for like very basic animation of what year, Tristan?
1934.
When she makes that whole meal out of corn, it looks very delicious. Like the cornbread is like on point.
It's like Southern cornbread.
So, anyway, well, thank you, Tristan, for being on the show today and giving us an explanation of, actually, seriously, our listeners are really like that. A lot of people don't know about Oswald the rabbit and like, you know, they just see Donald Duck and all these characters and then they don't really know where they came from.
And did you know when Oswald was given to these other people, they were the same creators of I forgot, but I think Tom and Jerry. I forgot. That would
have been Johanna and William Barbera.
Okay. Well, I don't know the cartoon that they made after, but I know they made a cartoon after that because I saw it on YouTube.
I have to tell you that he seriously he saw the Tom and Jerry movie. He's seen it like 3 or 4 times since it came out, and it warms my heart that he's watching Tom and Jerry. I told him that he should watch it with Mima because my grandmother loves Tom and Jerry because she could understand it.
The thing that I have the enjoying is Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Hold on. It's March 5.
Right?
I'm saying 5.
Yes.
I'm saying it's March 5. I mean, it's March 5. And, well, the Tom and Jerry movie was made February 26th. On theaters and on HBO Max.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's what I saw.
It warms my heart that he likes Tom and Jerry.
That's awesome. Well, Tristan, thank you
Hold
so much
on. I started Tom and Jerry when the movie first came out in February 26, 2021.
I know you did. So, anyway, thank you for being on Pero Let Me Tell You.
Thank you for stopping by, buddy.
And that was the bonus section of today's episode.
Well, it warms my heart that I was in the episode.
Yes. Thank you very much.